course, the administrative law, which is the constitution or we call it status of the sports. So these are all what is required to be able to have a new game in place.
Is it for an existing sport that is being practiced in other countries or a new one that has not? Are they the same?
No, they can never be the same because this is like this one now. It's a game coming out of Asia. So it's already an existing sport that has some patronages, I understand. Well over 60 countries across the world are already doing the sport. So it's already there. So it's for you to adopt the sports and domesticate the rules and regulation of the sports at the same time the administrative laws, which is the constitution of the sport. So this is much easier. But when you are creating a new sport altogether, so much is expected of you. First and foremost, you need to have the athletes, the group of people that will participate in the game. They must also accept the game. And then when they accept the game, they begin to develop interest in the game until it becomes a passion. Then that is when that is the beginning of the journey. And after doing that, you begin to deploy resources, to get, what is required for the game to gain followership. So there are two different things entirely. And of course, you start thinking about, after developing, you start thinking about how to export the sport. Because if you are the originator of a sport, like what we have in Nigeria here as Dembe, Dembe, you have, yeah, yes, that's local boxing. Hopping, that's Langa. And then you talk about Ayo and the Abula. These are all sports that are indigenous to Nigeria. So it's a Herculean task for you to create a sport and begin to make athletes, to begin to get athletes that you will groom, to accept and develop in the game. And then it's a different ball game altogether for you to export the sport out of your country. So much is required in terms of resources to be able to create a new sport. But where this one is much easier is that you can see what people have done in the past, and you can leverage on what they have done in the past, and then just adopt and domesticate the rules.
Then who do you pass through? Is it the NOC or the NSC?
No. You see, the whole idea is this: when you come up with a new sport, if it's already an existing sport, it means you have international federation. Or the international federation must have provisions for their member nations. So you go to their constitution, and by the time you want to participate in that sport, they send the first communication they will have to do with the country outside you applying to them is Olympic Committee. Is your National Olympic Committee. And once you get across to your National Olympic Committee, all we do is to call you and say, okay, fine, where is your federation? We want to know how far you have gone, who are your board members, do you have athletes? We want to have your status, which is the constitution. We also want to have the rules and regulation of the sport. And then it is referred to our technical committee, the Olympic Committee. And then by the time we look at all this, we can now reply to International Federation and say, well, back home here, domestically, these guys are home. If they are not home, we will not lie to them that they are home. We tell them they are home. And once we say they are home, that is when the International Federation can give you recognition. And once you pass through these rudiments, then you can now approach the National Sports Commission. At least let them know about your existence. When you're approaching the National Sports Commission, the first thing they want to know is how far have you gone, and they will ask you to provide their requirements, which is like the checklist. First and foremost, are you incorporated? Secondly, are you affiliated to the Olympic Committee? If you are not, they will say go and get affiliated to the Olympic Committee before you come to talk to us as a government. So these are the procedure. And then, of course, for you to be able to have your sports listed on the National Sports Festival medal table, the procedures are also there. Do you have the spread? How many states are you covering? How many states are affiliated to the sports that are practicing the sports actively? These are some of the conditions they go through, and then you will have to go for demonstration at the National Sports Festival. You do the first demonstration. you do the second demonstration, and then you have the required number of states. I think now, minimally, you're supposed to have like 24 states, that are practicing actively your sports as a federation before you can be admitted and be catalogued into the National Sports Festival medal table. So these are the procedures. You don't just wake up from your bedroom and then take your sports to the National Sports Commission to accept. No, you must pass through these procedures, and you must also come up with a letter of approval from the Olympic Committee. And for we to also accept you at the Olympic Committee level, your international federation will get across to us. We'll also check and then do our due diligence and ensure that you are good before we can even reply to the international federation and say, fine, these people are home, we have accepted them. And then it is that recommendation